Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at the Seiko SPB259, and as you can tell, this is the Prospex stainless steel 140th, which means yes, this is a 140th anniversary model, and this says the SPB259J1, which indicates the Japanese model. Even though I bought this in the US, it looks like they're shipping out the Japanese versions, which is pretty cool. And this is otherwise known as the very famous Seiko Alpinist, and it is part of the legendary Seiko Laurel Alpinist reinterpretation line. So let's talk a little bit about what the Seiko Alpinist is and what it stands for. So the Seiko Alpinist was made in 1959 and the model started off in 1961, and it was created to cater to the mountain men of the time and the explorers and climbers and people that did a lot of work on the mountains and had to kind of stay in that area. And so they required a tool that was very rugged, very robust, something that could get through that environment. Later on, Seiko had a couple different generations of the Alpinist, and now they have the new recreation of the Sarb 017 and the models with the compass, but they also recreated the Laurel Alpinist, which was the SJE 085 recreation of the 1959 Laurel Alpinist. And they also made the reinterpretation models, which come in a variety of colors, and this limited edition one that we have here for the 140th anniversary of Seiko. So let's take a look. All right guys, so right off the bat, I noticed this is a new box. I have not seen this type of box before, but I think it looks pretty nice. It's pretty fancy. It slides up. It kind of has like this base where it closes over, and you get the same Seiko in silver writing up there on top, like a typical box, but much nicer than the normal paper boxes that they offer on their regular watches. I don't know if this is for older new Prospex models. And inside you have your instructions manual and warranty card in there. And here is the box. It kind of looks like a faux leather paper wrapped white box. Pretty nice, very clean. Not anything fancy, but sounds like could be made out of wood with a paper layer on top or a synthetic leather layer on top, which I think is a nice touch. It's very clean, very simplistic, and somehow still looks high-end. And this one is in wrap. Let's take it out of the wrapping here. And there's the watch, guys, and that is a stunning dial. Look at that. Another thing I will point out is I love how the box has this layer of blue inside and the rest is like this black velvet. It says Seiko up there. Really cool touch. Wow, that is amazing. So this is the limited edition for this model. The normal versions just have a regular sunburst dial in either ivory, black, or green. This one has a very unique dial. It's supposed to look like the cobbled streets of Ginza in Japan, where Seiko's headquarters or shop is located. You can see that the stones or bricks that lay down on the road to make those cobbled streets is making an appearance here on this dial, and it just looks so stunning. And it's not like they just put these rectangle shapes down. If you look closely, you can see that it's kind of cut in these triangles, these different sections, and the bricks or the stone cut off as they meet the line, and then it's a new brick or stone that catches up on the next triangle. So that gives it a really cool effect, and it makes it look like it's almost like a step dial, like textured almost. It's this blue hue, but it kind of looks gray. Sometimes it looks navy, sometimes it looks brighter blue. Sometimes you even get kind of like a teal or green type of color, almost like a sea foam. God, that is stunning. That light blue second hand, God, that pops so well. I love that. This is the first time I've seen a watch with a second hand in that shade of blue. Usually it's that royal blue. This is the first time I've seen it in this kind of baby blue or sky blue. Really nice. So this one is 38 millimeters. It just looks like it's the perfect size. It doesn't look like it's too small. It actually reminds me a lot of the Sarb 033 and 035. They're both kind of in this category of a 38 millimeter sporty watch, which looks like it could kind of get away with as being a dress watch. And it's fully loomed up, sapphire crystal, not a typical Seiko 5. It's part of the Prospex line. So just like the Sarb line, they were, a little more higher end. And the 6R movement, this one also has the 6R movement. Everything is, very similar to that watch, which I love. One of my favorite watches, honestly. And you can just see the metal work on here. Good polishing. It looks like it even has that distortion-free polishing on this one, which is really surprising for such a lower-end line watch compared to like Grand Seiko and the other SLA reissues. And that sapphire crystal is a domed crystal or a curved crystal. Really nice touch. Gives it kind of like that vintage feel. And here are the hang tags. So you can see the MSRP on this one is $750, and it uses the caliber 6R35. Really nice movement. Little prospects tag. And here is the beautiful 140th anniversary Seiko tag. And this is my second watch to have this tag. The first one was actually the King Seiko reissue. I just can't get enough of this dial. And the loom, everything just looks like it fits in there so perfectly. Like it was made to a much higher spec than a standard watch of this price range. I'm really impressed by this. The markers actually sit in silver instead of stainless steel. A really nice touch that they did for this watch. And you get this new steel bracelet. First impressions, I actually think this bracelet looks really nice. It feels really solid as well. And you can see the design. This is not a typical Seiko bracelet that you get on their other watches. Not as tight against the lugs as a Grand Seiko watch, but not bad considering the price. Way nicer than my Seiko 5s or my SKX. So here's the clasp. And I gotta say, this clasp, I was just handling it earlier today. I think it's a huge step up in terms of fit and finish and just usability, and the way it blends in with the bracelet. That's a huge step up. I wish Grand Seiko would use a clasp like this, which hopefully they will. It looks like this is the first model that Seiko made which uses this, or maybe there are other higher end watches do it, but so far I've not seen a Seiko clasp this good. Seiko, if you're listening, you know, incorporate a clasp like this onto your higher end watches. And if you look back there, you can see the movement in there. Limited edition in Seiko. This one does have a display case back, which I love, but what I really loved about the older Alpinist is because it was made for mountain men and it was supposed to be rugged and keep dirt and dust out. It had a solid case back like a true sports watch. It had that cool Alpinist logo which had the mountain on it, which I thought was really cool and unique for the line, and make it look like Seiko had its own little line of adventure watches as well, such as what they did with the Wave on the back of older divers watches. I guess Seiko chose this as a better option as people just love display casebacks, and it would appeal to a more wider audience. With modern technology and the advancements in watchmaking, this is just as good as a solid caseback, so gotta give them props for that. You can see the rotor, it has those horizontal polishing marks which make it look much more higher end than a typical watch of this nature, or even in any of Seiko's watches. This is the first time that the movement has been finished to this degree, and you can see all the polishing lines right there. It just looks amazing. And the great thing about this movement versus the old Alpinist of the Sarb line is that this one has a 6R35 instead of the 6R15, which is rated to 70 hours of power reserve versus 50. So that's 20 whole hours additional that you're getting on this watch. And it looks like these watches are not numbered models, and these are limited to 3,500 pieces worldwide. And I can tell you that these things are flying off the shelves right now. I know that Seiko posted them on their website to purchase online directly through them, and they sold out within minutes. And if you try to contact your local AD, you might get lucky enough to get an allocation, but I know many ADs are struggling to get allocation for them, and I know that many of them already have wait lists much longer than the typical inventory that they would receive for any given model, not just the limited edition model. So I can tell you right off the bat, these are extremely sought after and popular. It's kind of reminiscent of the previous generation Alpinist when that blue dial limited edition came out and people were going crazy for that. I mean, the Alpinist just has a pretty huge cult following, and you can see why. I mean, it's a perfect daily, right? It's not over the top. It's not a full-fledged diver or a chrono watch. It's just a pure tool adventure watch. It has, you know, legible hands. It can get away with in a dressier setting. It can pull the sports vibe. It's built up for the task, and it still looks so classy. And it's fully loomed. The hands, markers, everything has very nice loom. Even the seconds hand. It's just made for pure function. The frame date window gives it a nice touch. I can see that Seiko kind of went after the Rolex Explorer when they made this. I think this is the perfect budget alternative to a Rolex Explorer or the Omega Aquaterra. And it's way cheaper, but I think it definitely fights among them. Quality and the build and finishing on this watch feel like it could be of a watch 10 times its price. I'm not even lying when I say that. It feels really solid. Even the bracelet, everything just feels really good. And it's just such a beautiful piece. I mean, that dial is so unique. You're not going to find a dial this unique on a watch like an Explorer or an Aquaterra. Dials that Seiko and Grand Seiko are making recently are just blowing every other watchmaker out of the water. And I think this one especially is a keeper. Also, the 20 bar, that's 200 meters of water resistance. You will not find anywhere close to that water resistance in an Aquaterra or in a Rolex Explorer. This is punching way above its weight, and I think it looks fantastic. So let's get it on wrist and see how it fits. All right, Alright guys, here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I gotta say it fits beautifully. You can see just enough of the bracelet on top and on bottom to kind of get a feel for the depth of the watch, and the dial is not big and overpowering my wrist. That's a compliment, because most watches, especially sporty watches, they fit massive on the wrist and they kind of look like they're taking over your wrist with the dial or the case. This is what I would call a perfect fit, especially the shape of the watch and the lugs and the way they extend out, and I mean, you can see that polished surface, the way it goes from brushed to polished, and the finishing, just incredible. And that adds to the depth and the 3D effect of the whole package. Even the bezel, I mean, it's just fantastic, guys. I don't know what else to say. If you can get an AD, or you can find somewhere to find this online, get them while they're hot, because right now they're still kind of attainable, but I can see in maybe a month or even a couple of weeks, this is going to be a watch that is going to shoot up in value pretty high. All right, guys. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. All right. See you guys next time.